Member for Arafura.
Minister, can you explain why you think it's appropriate as the Minister for Veterans to be quoting Nazi rhetoric? You did that at last sittings.
So it's not part of this output.
Well, you're the Minister. I'm just trying to get your rationale around that.
Okay.
I don't think it's an appropriate question to be asking during the estimates hearings. You're asking for an expression of opinion about something that was said previously. I think we should move on from this question.
Well, you know, we're just quoting what he said.
So it's not appropriate what the minister's said, so we're just trying to get...
This is all incorrect information that's been searched, and whatever I searched is said in the parliament. So there is a hand search. And people can go and look. Yeah.
Sorry, Minister.
Yeah. No, I think if you want to quote from the Hansard, yes, it's appropriate, but I think what you quoted is your version, which is incorrect.
Yeah, I think there's an inference that and I've read the Hansard, the way that it's stated in Hansard is not being correctly.
Do you disagree that that wasn't a Nazi?
Point of order, can we stick to the outputs, please?
You're looking for an expression of opinion through this.
rationale.
I'd like to move on from this line of questioning, please.
We are disgusted by
So
it.
can
we
I
just want
please make a comment? So the rationale was during the last sitting of the parliament, there were like 3 times the member of the oppositions made reference to the youth, Casuarina Youth Hub, completely telling lies. And what I made the inference was telling lies again and again will not make a lie truth. That's all I searched. And again, coming on this forum and trying to take that sentence and twisting again, it's again like telling another lie. That's all I can comment.
Okay, I've got a follow-up question.
Yeah, I'd like to move on from this line of questioning. If this continues, I will put you on a warning. So please move on.
Thank you. I've got a follow-up question from that, though, because it's not a misquote. Who you quoted was a Nazi. And so there are general questions around how you, as a policy under the Ministerial for Social Inclusion and Veterans, how is it appropriate for the person responsible for social inclusion, veterans, these kind of people, to be quoting a Nazi on the floor of Parliament?
Member for Nightcliff, I would like to move on from this line of questioning. It is not appropriate. You're asking for opinion and expression.
You're trying to protect him. He's not a baby, he's a minister. He can answer
Member
the
for
question.
Nightcliff.
Chair speaking, please, Member for Nightcliff.
Sorry, continue, Chair.
We will move on from this line of questioning, or you will be put on a warning.
Okay, I'm good.
Chair?
Member for Johnson, just a warning, if you do continue with this line of questioning, you will also be put on a warning.
I'm willing to take that risk, Chair. Estimates is one of the few forums where ministers are directly held to account. It's our opportunity to test how public money is spent, what values underpin government decisions, whether policy is delivering for the people that it's here to serve, and preventing scrutiny of the minister's public views. The minister who's making these decisions, particularly when those views may directly influence policy direction, in my view, fundamentally undermines the very purpose of estimates.
That's your opinion?
That's my,
that is your opinion for this. I think that we need to move on from this line of questioning because we're putting references that
I have
aren't
questions, but I've been told I can't ask them, so I'd be happy to ask them.
You can ask questions around the operations and the financial state of the Department of People, Sport and Culture. If you would like to continue on that line of referencing, we are currently in outpoint one, which is people. Thank you. Member for Arafura.
There has been, I think, a fair outcry from some multicultural groups, particularly the Jewish community and others, about you quoting a Nazi on the floor of Parliament. Have you apologised? It's a simple question. Have you apologised to the multicultural?
This is wrong.
You're officially on a warning. I have made this comment a couple of times. Member for Nightcliff, I consider your conduct to be disorderly and warn you that if you persist, I will order you to withdraw from the hearings under paragraph 12 of the Assembly's resolution establishing this committee.
Chair,
So I can't get an answer to the apology? Has he apologised?
Member for Nightcliff.
Chair, can I just get some clarity? Because there was an incident last year in estimates where the CLP opposition at the time were asking similar questions in relation to this, and it was allowed.
Member
and
for
the minister
Daly,
was too.
I wasn't here last year. This is not anything
But it
that's
still
last
sits
year.
within the
This is my
standing
decision
orders.
as
It
chair.
still sits within the standing orders.
I've actually just read from the standing orders. If you would like to continue, you will be exited from the room.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, this question's just in regards to the Royal Commission into violence, abuse, neglect and exploitation of people with a disability. That Royal Commission concluded in 2023 which allowed people with a disability, their families, and a range of other people to share their dreams and aspirations for an inclusive Australia. With one participant stating, and I will quote what was stated, I don't want it to be a competition for scarce resources, a survival of the fittest, where the winners are able-bodied young people who can climb a flight of stairs without needing to rest for an hour or step over the lip of a bathtub without the risk of face planting onto the tiles. Does the Minister accept that your public statements referencing your beliefs of survival of the fittest may deter people with a disability from engaging with government services?
That's member for Daly is asking for an opinion on that to me.
So it's not an opinion. I'm just trying to. This was a quote that was directly from the Royal Commission that was done in 2023. Who I just stated that quote. So there is from the public statements that you have made as a minister directly aligned to what he's saying is a survival of the fittest. So I'm just trying to get a picture because it obviously moulds your policy positions. So does that deter people with a disability from engaging with government services when we've got a minister that is saying that
Member for
rhetoric in the
Daly,
public?
you're asking the minister to provide information on what members of the public might be thinking, which is asking for.
It was in the report of the Royal Commission.
They're hypothetical questions. They're
It's not
asking for
hypothetical,
opinions.
it's a direct question.
No, but Member for Daly, you're asking for him to provide advice on an opinion on what other people might be thinking. It's not a question. Can we please move on?
Okay, so in saying that, Minister, will you admit that the theory of survival of the fittest, which has shaped your thinking, in fears that those born with different strengths and talents are not all part equals? Because that's what it's stating.
This output, so I don't know what member for Daly is referring to.
It sits well and truly within this output because you're the minister responsible for disabilities. That's a direct quote that's come out of the Royal Commission. So when people with disabilities need to interact with the highest person in office and you're making those quotes, it makes them feel uncomfortable. It doesn't make them feel safe. It doesn't allow you to then guide your policy position. So I'm just trying to get where your thinking and sitting is on that policy position, which then affects where funding goes towards people with a disability. That's the line of questioning and why we're just trying.
Member for Daly, can I ask you to rephrase your question so it's an appropriate question for this around policy?
It's directly around policy. It's a Royal Commission. So the Royal Commission into violence, abuse, neglect and exploitation of people with a disability, it concluded in 2023. So there's recommendations that come out of that Royal Commission, but there's also people that have stated that they don't want to be competing for resources. Well, I did ask the question, but the minister didn't answer it, is the issue. So,
and as the chair, I've asked you to rephrase the question, so it's an appropriate question to ask the minister, please.
Okay, so with those views, which has been stated in the Royal Commission that's in that report, then your quotes that are public, does that deter people with a disability from engaging with government services?
Again, Member for Daly, you're asking the minister for an opinion on other people's stance.
The minister should be able to answer. Like he's an adult here. He's a minister of the Crown. He should be able to answer a pretty simple question.
So, Chair, I will refer to the Chair. Does the member got any question related to the estimates? Or is he ran out of the question and he's trying to make up something here?
I agree on this one. Can we
Clearly
please move
scared.
on from this line of questioning?
Minister, given that you have said that you believe not all people are equal and not all people can do the same thing, can you confirm whether or not this view influences how you develop your disability portfolio?
Again, this is not within this output, and that's in an entirely different context.
How is it not within this output? Sorry, Minister. It's directly in relation to disability.
You're asking for an opinion about what I said in a different context.
I'm asking how your stated view affects how you develop policy in relation to people with disability. I can't see how it's not relevant.
No, thank you. I'll respond to that question about like how I develop policy. So I completed my training in nursing back in 2009 and been working with the people with disability and physical issues. Since that time, I started working in 2010 or 11, and I worked for the last 13 years in the nursing, mental health, and forensic disability services. So when I'm making a decision, that will be informed by my experience, my education, and the information shared by the people with the lived experience and by the carers, and from the broader consultation with the community as well. That's how I influence the decision.
And I do believe, and I can quote from Hansard, you also said it's informed by a particular approach to an interpretation of Charles Darwin's survival of the fittest. So I think the question is totally relevant. You're saying what informs your policy development, and that's part of it. So my question is, how will that impact or not impact on your policy development?
So again, I provided a response to that question, and I just want to make a quote as well. So I never repeated that since in that parliament, which is on the Hansard, whereas what I can hear is about like people are continuously saying the things again and again, whereas I stick on to my line. What I said is in the Hansard, and I already responded to your question.
For the record, you said in Hansard, Charles Darwin's survival of the fittest theory is a well-known theory from long ago. This theory has shaped my thinking. It still rings true in many ways. People are born with different strengths and talents, and not all parts are equal. Not all people can do the same things.
Member, do you have a question?
There is not a question.
I've got a
We
follow-up.
don't make statements in estimates.
I know, I'm sorry.
So I just
I've got a
would like to
follow-up.
move on.
I've got a
Thank you,
follow-up
Member for Daly.
question for that. Thank you, Chair. Just following on from the member for Johnson and what she'd read out.
Member for Daly, I'm just going to warn you to
in
make sure you're
Parliament.
moving on from the line of questioning,
Yeah, it
because we
is,
don't want
because
to
it's
be
important,
repetitive in
because
this.
it-
Sorry, I'm just talking.
Yeah.
We don't want to be repetitive. This is
No,
a warning
it's a
on
policy-
this matter right now. So
it's
I'm
a
just
policy
making sure that
question.
you're moving on from the line of questioning
It's a
and
policy
not asking
question.
the same question.
Yeah, it's a policy question.
Well, this is your warning.
Because it's
Don't ask the
clearly
same question.
he's said that he's shaped his views from what the member for Johnson has said. So is that a guiding principle of yours, which has been implemented in the disability portfolio and your policy thinking?
Sorry, Member for Daly, you're asking the same question.
It's a
He's
guiding
answered
principle.
the
It's a
question
policy
already.
one. It's a policy one.
We will move on from this line of questioning.
Can't even answer the question.